If you ever wanted to learn how to crochet stuffed animals, or in its more proper term, amigurumi, here are 5 basic crochet skills that you need to know and how to do them. In this video, I will be using US terms to refer to the stitches. I'm also using a number 6 super bulky blanket yarn and a 7mm hook because that's what I normally use and what a lot of my patterns use. But you are welcome to use any kind of yarn that you have and the appropriate hook size to it. And actually, if you are just starting out, it's generally recommended that you start learning with a number 4 worsted weight yarn like this and something like a size 4mm hook. This type of yarn is pretty much the kind of yarn that most people think of when it comes to yarn, and it's more affordable. It's what I started out with when I first started learning, and I was always told back then that the simpler the yarn is, the easier it is to use. As for the yarn color, the only thing I would suggest is just not to use the color black. It's so much harder to see the stitches on a black yarn, and that makes it all the more harder to learn when you're just starting out. So now that we have our yarn and our hook, here are the 5 basic crochet skills that you will need to know to make crochet stuffed animals. So the first skill you'll need to know is the magic circle / magic ring. This is basically how you start off the bases for a lot of your stuffed animals and what gives you the circular shape. To do this, take your yarn and pinch it between your thumb and your pointer finger. Then pinch your pointer and middle finger together and wrap the yarn around both of them and make an X. Hold the X down with the ring finger and then with your other hand grab your hook. You want the pointy part of your hook to be facing up, and then you're going to go in between both fingers under the X. Turn the hook 90 degrees towards your middle finger. Grab the lower yarn in the X by turning your hook downwards in the same direction and then pulling that string of yarn underneath the X. Now turn your hook again 90 degrees in the same direction and then go back between the 2 strands of yarn. Grab the lower yarn, making sure your hook stays sideways, and pull it for the loop that we made earlier. And that is how you do a magic circle. You can check to make sure that you did it correctly by pulling on the yarn end. And when you do so, it should tighten up the circle. You can loosen it up again by just pulling the circle apart. And when you pull on your working yarn, it should tighten up the circle around your hook. So the next stitch you'll need to know is the single crochet. It's basically the building block for most of your plushie. To make a single crochet in a magic circle, first put your hook through the circle and then grab your working yarn, which is basically the yarn connected to the rest of your skein, and pull that through the circle. Now you should have 2 loops on your hook. Then grab that working yarn again and pull it through both of the loops. So the magic circle is how you start, but after the first round, you're basically going to be making single crochets on top of other rounds of single crochets. So to make a single crochet on top of another single crochet, like I'm showing you here, you're going to look for the V shape of the stitch from the previous round. Put your hook underneath that V shape, grab the working yarn and pull it underneath that V, and then grab the working yarn again and pull it through both loops. The third skill you'll need to know is how to increase, which is basically 2 single crochets in 1 stitch and allows you to expand the circumference of your plushie. In order to do this, you're going to start with a single crochet just like we did before by putting your hook through that V shape and pulling a yarn underneath, and then again through both loops. Then instead of going on to the next V, you're going to go through the same V as the one you did before and make another single crochet again. And that's how you do an increase. The fourth skill you need to know how to do is decrease. I'm going to teach you the invisible decrease because that's what I normally do, and in my opinion, it gives your plushie a much cleaner look. Decreasing is basically the opposite of increasing. You basically crochet 2 stitches into 1 and it makes the circumference smaller. So to make an invisible decrease, instead of going through the full V of the stitch from the previous round like you normally would with a single crochet, you instead only go through the first one. This is also called crocheting in front loop only. And then before yarning over, go over to the next stitch and also grab that front loop only. Now you would grab the working yarn and pull it through both of the front loops of the 2 stitches. And now you would finish off by pulling the yarn for the 2 loops, just like normal. And that's how you do an invisible decrease. Finally, the 5th and last skill that you need to know in order to make any plushie is to fasten off. So here I am finished crocheting the body of a bee. So to fasten off, I'm going to start by cutting the yarn and making sure I leave a lot of excess. Then take your hook and pull that yarn in for the last loop and then pull the yarn all the way through. And that is how you fasten off. So as you can see, there's still a hole left in the middle. So you're going to take that excess yarn and thread it through a yarn needle and then use that needle to pull that yarn through each of the loops surrounding the circle. When you get all the way around the circle, just pull tight and close up that hole. I have seen people secure their work in different ways, so this is just how I do it. I'll pull the needle through like some random spot nearby I'll leave a little bit slack so I can pull the yarn needle through, and then I'll pull tight. And then after that, I'll knot the yarn maybe 3 to 5 times, basically until I think the knot is big enough. After I think the knot is big enough, I'll take the needle and pull it through the body of the plushie. And once that knot is pulled all the way through, I will cut off the extra yarn, and that's basically it. And those are the 5 basic skills that you absolutely need to know in order to make any amigurumi plushie. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be dropping more tutorials soon on more skills and also how to make specific plushies.